Hi, welcome everybody to a special episode of the Outlaw Nation's Game Time. We're tackling the NFL free agency that's been happening all this week. You know, we dropped our debut episode of this sports show on Monday with Jay Washington and Winston Marshall, and already so much has happened. And of course, the top thing being Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, I was looking around for someone to talk to about it, and thank you to the Twitter sphere who suggested Taylor Bisciotti. She said, hell yeah, I'd love to come on. And ladies and gentlemen, here she is. Please welcome NFL Network's Taylor Bisciotti to Game Time. How are you, Taylor?
I am good. Thank you for having me. And like you said, a lot can happen in a week. Well, I am currently at home for the last week, and so this was a delightful surprise.
Me too.
I was just telling you before this that, you know, I've gotten to know my roommates very, very, very well. Maybe a little too well in this time that we've been isolated from social distancing.
Yeah, how do you practice social distancing when you have two roommates? Like, are you guys constantly keeping 6 feet away from each other, or there's a little more of a 3 to 4 foot?
We're keeping 6 feet away from each other so we don't like physically assault each other at this point.
Well, that's the game. There it is. Well, and speaking of the coronavirus situation, we'll touch on the Sean Payton being diagnosed with it in just a second. But as I said here just a few seconds ago, the big story so far out of this week, and there have been some big stories, but the biggest one is certainly Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 years, $30 million contract, warm weather situation there in Tampa Bay. And possibly, I know people are making fun of it and snickering, possibly a sneakily good landing place for Tom Brady.
No, I definitely think it was a great landing place. I would have, if I had to guess, first of all, my first guess would have been that he would have stayed in New England. But if he wasn't going to stay there, my first guess was definitely the Chargers. I thought that would have been the most ideal fit for him. I mean, in Los Angeles, coming to a team that desperately needs to kind of develop that avid fan base, to sell tickets at their new stadium, to kind of like revamp their team. And they do have such a solid team right now that he would be going into a perfect setting there. But you look at Tampa Bay, and that is a pretty great setting as well. He's going in there with arguably the best receiving duo. He's got weapons that he didn't have before. I think they had the 6th best offensive line last season. And they had Jameis Winston at quarterbacks, who, as we both know, he had 30 interceptions last season. He was you never know what Jameis Winston you're going to get. And so he's kind of landing in a perfect spot for him to be his best self and what he can do right now, which is not necessarily a super mobile quarterback. But if he has the time, Tom Brady can make any play out there. So he's going into a system where he's got a fantastic offensive line, every weapon that he could ask for in terms of tight end, receivers, good running back. And so you're kind of, it was a good deal for him. I think that it was a good spot, and it makes sense. He's going in there and going to play with Bruce Arians, who they have a relationship. It seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is actually. And, you know, it's 20 years in New England. That's a long time. I think when you've been on a Collider Sports Time, the previous iteration of the show, I think we all spoke about whether it was going to be Tom Brady who leaves or Belichick who leaves, or if they'd go off into the sunset together. But now, I think, over the last few years, there's been a little bit of friction between Tom Brady and Belichick with his training programs, with his off-season stuff, and even a little bit of the political stuff. I don't know how much that got involved, but there was certainly a little bit of bristling. And 20 years with somebody, look, you're having trouble with roommates after only 2 weeks. Imagine 20 years with the same guy who's a bit of a hard ass. You kind of get older and you have less patience for that kind of stuff. Do you think that was what ultimately led to this kind of breakup, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody can just sit there and speculate, but where there's smoke, there's usually a little bit of fire. And that's always been kind of something that's been talked about. And maybe there is a little bit of truth there. And I think that Tom Brady probably just wanted to go into a situation where he seemed to be like appreciated. I don't necessarily know if Belichick ever really praised Brady as much as he probably should have for everything that he did accomplish. And I think it'll be interesting. I think it's exciting to see him in another city, another team. It's hard to even picture or imagine right now, but I think that if he were to go to, I think the Chargers and the Bucs were both great landing spots for him.
Yeah, I agree. Both warm weather spots for an aging quarterback who is not that mobile anymore. As you just mentioned earlier, he's more of a pocket. Obviously, he's a pocket passer, but maybe going down to a warm weather situation. And you mentioned all the offensive weapons, but let's not forget about the defense. I think the defense played really well for Tampa for the most part last year, dealing, as you said, with Jameson's 30 interceptions to go with his 30 touchdowns and 5,000 yards passing, just to be fair. But 30 interceptions is a lot to put on a defense to overcome. And they still went 7-9 and still almost made the playoffs. So if you reduce those
interceptions, I think that you had sent me an article earlier, 4 of their losses were the playoff teams. So Niners, Seahawks.
Do you see now that the Buccaneers have an inside track to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, even though he's 42 years old?
I think anything's possible with Brady, especially going into a setup that plays up his strengths.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned Mike Evans as a wide receiver, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, great tight ends there if they can stay healthy for Tom Brady. But
give Tom Brady time. He'll make the pass.
Yeah.
The receivers will get open.
Yeah, and you trust Arians. I mean, one of the big things is he wants to come down and bring his style of play, essentially his playbook, his offensive philosophy. And Arians is more of a laid-back coach. Maybe he wanted less of a hard ass than Belichick, wanted someone he could maybe be a little malleable with and kind of create that offense around what works best for him. Kind of like what LeBron does with every team he goes to, except for these Lakers, where he had made it basically a one-on isolation type offense that favors him. So maybe Brady will do the same with Tampa Bay and lead them to the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl.
It does bring up the question, though, like, what are the Patriots going to do now, though?
Right.
Are they going to really ride with – I don't know. I can't see it. But I guess Belichick wants a quarterback that's mobile because that's the way that the game is progressing. You know, like those quarterbacks that are, in essence, can run the ball just as well as they're throwing the ball. You look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. The game is definitely progressing to a style of play where you have to be prepared. Defenses have to be prepared for a quarterback that can run, take off, or throw the ball.
Right. Well, those defensive linemen are faster than they've ever been before. They're stronger than they've ever been before. They're more intelligent than they've ever been before on the line to kind of battle against quarterbacks that are pocket passers. So you naturally have to keep them on their feet. People like Patrick Mahomes, people like Lamar Jackson, those people you've named already. You know, those are great quarterbacks. And what they have here is Jarrett Stidham, who is a fourth-round pick out of Auburn. Didn't hear much about him. He played a little bit sparingly throughout the year, but they're saying they want a mobile quarterback. And what do you think this is the right choice?
I would say no right now, but Belichick obviously has something up his sleeve. He knows that he wants to try and get the job done with him at quarterback. And if you look at their weapons that they have, they obviously need to. Their current team right now, obviously it's not going to be what it is at the start of the season, but their current team right now is more designed to a quarterback that has the capabilities and the ability to be able to take off and run and kind of take his offense into his own hands.
Yeah.
We saw how frustrating it was for Brady last year when he didn't have any weapons.
Right. And people forget Brady was a 6th-round pick. So they're essentially kind of moving up, taking a 4th-rounder to be their starter in Jarrett Stidham. There were rumors that there were some crazy rumors that the 49ers had maybe kicked the tires on a possible trade. Did you? How much? Like you're tapped into the NFL Network. Was there any reality to those rumors?
I think so. I think that a lot of people did believe it. So I'm sure there was some truth to it. I didn't see it.
Okay. Yeah. It would have been weird, right? Jimmy G hasn't worn out his welcome. He took him to the Super Bowl. Yes. Did he have some accuracy issues at critical moments? Sure. But now maybe they've got
talking about a quarterback that's young, that's coming off of an injury, and that still took his team to the Super Bowl.
Right. Great points. Absolutely great point. So you're not done with that experiment just yet. It's not a Mitchell Trubisky situation. You want to see what you got with Jimmy G going forward. So, we'll see what happens. This is going to be fascinating to watch with Bill Belichick.
By the way, I love doing this podcast out here on my balcony with 15 dogs around. It's great. Social distancing.
I just like that your hair is blowing in the wind. I respect it. I respect it.
Going nuts. Flyaways.
A lot of people were thinking Niners. Yeah, some people in the chat already are like, yeah, Niners, that would have been great. But I think in the end, you got to kind of see what you got with Jimmy G for 1 more year, maybe 2 more years.
Yeah.
Then you make the decision. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll some other news today. Sean Payton, obviously, with coronavirus, which is terrible.
Yeah, let's talk about
how important it is to social distance and try and keep people healthy and safe.
Yeah. Well, he said he wanted to come out and talk about it because he wants people who are known to come out and say they've got it, because it lets people know that this thing it goes across whatever spectrum or whatever. Yeah. Do you think more players in the NFL have this thing? And do you anticipate that now with Sean Payton testing positive, do you think there are more players who might have this thing, and we might be looking at a truncated?
I think that not only just players, I think that more people have it than they realize. I think that the scariest part about it is that you or I both just sitting here and we're just saying, oh, do you think that person has either one of us could have it? Anybody could have it, and they could just be carriers. Yeah. But until there's more tests available, we just won't really know. And so the virus is going to continue spreading.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you got to be aware of. And I like that people like Sean Payton, like Kevin Durant, like other people who are famous and have been diagnosed with this are willing to come out and talk about it, because it kind of battles back against the yahoos who are still going out to beaches and going out to clubs.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, you can laugh about it, but it's not even funny.
No, it could be really, really scary, because one of those people could go back home and infect one of their
and even if it's not going to directly affect you because you're young, which that narrative has kind of been changed now because it's attacking just as many young people.
Yeah.
You're going to still spread it. You could be a carrier. The more people you come in contact with and you come in contact with other people, you're going to indirectly hurt your parent, your grandparent. There's so many people that it can affect. It's a dominant effect.
It's a great point you bring up. Sean Payton said, I was fortunate to be in the minority without the serious side effects that some have. I'm lucky. Younger people feel like they can handle this, but they can be a carrier to someone who can't handle it. So we all need to do our part. It's important for every one of us to do our part. So there you go with Sean Payton. We wish him a speedy recovery, certainly, from this.
I don't know what else people need to see besides like just read about what's going on in Italy, just a week ahead of us.
Right. It's going on here. I mean, people still trying to discount the numbers and try to compare it to the flu. And I'm like, it's not even remotely in the same ballpark, because
I think we saw a 40% increase today in the coronavirus. And that's simply just because that's due to more tests being out there. And so the tests becoming more readily available. I think that number is actually much, much higher.
Yeah. And we'll find out.
I love how our sports talk has turned into coronavirus talk.
Yeah, I'm trying to move it over a little bit. And listen, if you all are watching or listening to us live, us talk, please send in your super chat, send in your Streamlabs. I'm checking everything to see if you guys have any questions for me or Taylor about the NFL free agency as we go along in the show. We'll bring it up and we'll answer it as soon as we can. All right, let's move on to this idea. You mentioned the Chargers. Now, they lost out on Tom Brady. They are now settling with Anthony Lynn, the coach of the Chargers. He seems to be pretty happy with Tyrod Taylor now kind of sliding into this position and being their quarterback. He had coached him in Buffalo. Now he's here in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Do you like this setup? He's certainly a mobile quarterback, but is he a winning quarterback? That's the question.
I don't think so. I think that the Chargers need to try and draft a quarterback.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that Tyrod is the answer necessarily, but if that is who they have, I mean, they're going to try and ride with them for as long as they can, and maybe they try and draft a quarterback next year. I just thought that this year was the year to kind of make your splash.
Yeah. Going into a new building, you want a big name to come with you, and we should say
you do have such a good team right now. It's like if you want to, the goal is to win right now.
Yeah,
the team that's strong everywhere, kind of except for quarterback. You've got to take that jump right now, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see. I mean, this is an interesting team overall, because if Tyrod Taylor is the one they go with, because there's still veteran quarterbacks rolling around out there. God forgive us, Jameis Winston is still roaming around out there. Yeah. Andy Dalton is roaming around out there. There's a number of quarterbacks that are roaming around out there, and one of them is Cam Newton. Do you think this is the move? Because with Teddy Bridgewater signing with Carolina, is Cam Newton a splashy move for Anthony Lynn to bring in here to be their quarterback?
I think it could be a good fit.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah.
I see that more than Tyrod.
Oh, really? You like him? You think that's a better move right now with Cam Newton coming off an injury?
We don't know exactly how Cam is physically. We've seen his videos that he's added, but we don't really know what's going on with his shoulder, what's going on with his foot injury. We talked about this, I think, on Collider Sports podcast earlier this year. At first it was he changed his entire throwing motion for his shoulder. Right. After a shoulder injury. That's kind of scary that a Super Bowl contending quarterback is going to change his throwing motion.
Right.
and then the ankle issue. And so then he was kind of strapped where he couldn't really throw the ball or be mobile. So until we have a better idea of how Cam really is, because it was clear that the Panthers didn't want Cam.
Yeah.
He said that he felt like he was basically forced out.
Yeah.
So I think we need to kind of get a better grasp on what his situation or how he really is physically first.
Yeah. Well, once again, he'd be going to a warm weather situation for him. It could help his injury a little bit. And you've got a situation with all these weapons here in Los Angeles with the Chargers, opening a new stadium. He's an exciting player. He's a divisive player, but he's an exciting player. And that's where you go with. I think Tyrod Taylor had one of his best seasons with Buffalo, but I don't think you're going to get that kind of thing here with San Diego. The guy is
prone brings up the question of Teddy Bridgewater. You know, like he had a very exciting run this past season in New Orleans. I think he won 5 straight games.
Yeah,
is he really the answer? Like, should we want Breeze back? Which, of course, that was a crazy narrative. But I think that's another question mark, which they just offered a ton of money for him. And we don't really, I don't think that we know enough. It's amazing that he was able to come back from his injury and he played phenomenal in New Orleans. But that's something that's a big risk and a big chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a 3-year, $63 million deal. Yeah. Basically, it's built on the back of 5 games, Taylor. 5 games last year. And in a system.
After everybody saying, oh, this quarterback isn't ever going to come back and play.
Right.
People didn't think that he was ever going to really recover after that knee injury.
Yeah, it's ironic. He's guaranteed $40 million for the first 2 seasons, but this is such an interesting situation. You got a new quarterback, a new coach sliding into this Carolina Panthers stuff. You still have what's his face, Kyle Allen, I think his name, who was kind of leading them last year during Newton's injury. But you bring in someone like Teddy, and it seems like there's experience here with the coaching staff. They've coached Teddy before, so maybe they feel this is more of a shorthand situation where they'll be able to get on the same page quicker than if it was a new quarterback and a new coach who didn't know each other's offenses that well. So this will be interesting to see how he slides in. I think he's a good choice in that he's a calm choice. He's not a divisive choice, right? It's like the Celtics. They trade Kyrie Irving for I forget the point guard from Charlotte. That guy is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is not a divisive guy. He's not going to cause a lot of problems. He's going to calm the team down. You don't hear Boston Celtics. You don't hear any drama from Boston all year. So you think
it was more of a decision based on drama, kind of?
Yeah, I think so. I think they felt Cam had done. There's all that drama in the post-game stuff. There's all the drama after the Super Bowl. I think they felt like, look, this guy's a good player, but maybe it's time to move on, kind of clean the slate completely. They got rid of Greg Olsen, who was their iconic tight end, all of that. So we'll see what Teddy does. I'm excited for Teddy because I like a good comeback story. And
I love it. Good for Teddy, but I just think that if you thought that, I think you would push the drama aside if you thought that you had a chance to win with Cam.
Oh, so good point.
I think that brings into question his health.
Yeah. So you think they lost faith in him and that's why he's gone?
I think there's a big question mark surrounding.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
difficult.
We have a super chat coming in here from Roberto Taylor. He wants to know, are they good moves by the 49ers so far, showing up their defense, doing what they need to do? What do you think from what you've seen in free agency?
Yeah, I think so. I think the 49ers were already in a fantastic position.
Yeah. They certainly can only get richer.
Everybody says that their only weak spot was quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Hurts my heart.
He's a good-looking one. I know that. We've got 3 Streamlabs that have come in. Thoughts on Gurley being cut by the Rams? This was inevitable, wasn't it? This is not that much of a loss.
I think it was inevitable just because of the amount that he was going to be due after 4 p.m. I think we kind of all saw it coming. Yeah. The story had been leaked. They had been trying to trade him. The story had been leaked that they're open for trades, which is obviously them just saying that we're trying to trade him.
Right.
I understand it. I love Gurley. He went to Georgia, so go Dogs. So I hope that he does end up in a situation that is a good fit for him. But yeah, in terms of like a business decision and what was best for the Rams, I do think that it was probably the smart move.
Yeah. Is your boy Fromm coming out this year? Is he coming out to? Is he out of out of Georgia? Is he coming into the NFL?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe Fromm will go to the Chargers. Maybe he'll make a splash there. We'll see. Princeton wasn't promised. Says, hey guys, how are you? Question: with all their picks, do you think Miami will sign a quarterback, move up in the draft, trade out for picks next year, or draft a quarterback where they are? What do you think Miami's going to do? Because they went what, like 5-4 on the tail end of the season. So certainly some pieces work for Brian Flores. Do you think they're going to make some strong moves here and free agency, or this is a year away from really
I
trying
feel
to
like
make
free agency is kind of dying down in terms of what the moves that people have made. I feel like the biggest moves have been made so far. Yeah, another team that's been kind of quiet is the Giants. I thought that they would have made a few more moves.
Yeah, that's
they
kind of
have salary cap space.
Right. They've got money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and with Brady going to Tampa, some of those free agents that might have gone to other teams now, it seems to be more of a battle probably to get them in this situation if Tampa wants them. So,
yeah,
I think so. I think Miami's going to go get themselves a quarterback. There's a lot of people thinking that they might take Tua, or they might take if I know Burrow won't go with them, but there's rumors about them taking Tua or even Justin Herbert. We'll see, but
I think those are both, all three, obviously great
yeah,
fits.
I think they're great choices as well.
I mean, I think that Tua, there's a slight question mark around his health, and everybody was saying that his injury was so bad, which I do believe that, but I do think that he's somebody that's going to bounce back and recover.
Yeah, I think he'll surprise people as well. I just think my Redskins should not go for Tua at all, and take what's his face at Ohio State. I like Spence. I like him better than any quarterback got roaming around out there after Burrow. One more. This is Aaron. He wants to know who is more likely to join Tom Brady in Tampa Bay: Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, or dare we say it, Le'Veon Bell? Is that a possibility in your mind?
Oh gosh, I don't know any team that would want to take Le'Veon Bell's contract. That's the problem there.
Right.
Even with it's so big that there's not going to be anybody that's going to want to take that on. I think that it's proven time and time again that running back paid is just not. Sometimes it's just pay off as well. So I would think that somebody maybe like Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley. I feel like he's more of he's not a running back that you want out there every single play. I still think that he can make big plays and be explosive, but he's not a third down. He's more of a make a big play and kind of sit out for a few. And so I think Melvin Gordon is probably the best fit there.
Yeah, Todd's more like Skittles. Todd's now into that Skittles area of his life where he just comes in on short yardage situations and does his thing. This is not an everyday back, every down back, rather. I don't think you can rely on him more in that way. One last one. We'll move on here. This is Super Chat. It says from Chris Miner, do you think my Titans will do better or the same as they did last year, is what essentially he's asking. What do you think, Dad?
I thought the Titans were such an exciting team last year. I think that they're going to be better. I think that they're going to get Derrick Henry's deal done, obviously just extending Ryan Tannehill. I think that they're going to be better this year than they were last year. I think that they have a fantastic coach. I think that his play calling abilities and the way that he was in the playoffs, the way that he performed, he just was very smart about it. I think that both of their wins were so impressive. Yeah. So I think they're going to be better this year. I think you're only going to get a scarier team there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think so too.
I'm a big fan of the Tennessee Tannehills. It wasn't just Derrick Henry. Talk about somebody else who had a big comeback, because that's a quarterback that was kind of just told you're always going to be a second string quarterback. He was traded from Miami to the Titans when Marcus Mariota was the quarterback, and he just figured he'd be a backup. And then talk about somebody who came in and proved himself. Yeah. So I love that. I love that story.
It's almost like Alex Smith. Everyone thought he was a bit of a bust and he was only going to be a backup quarterback. He goes to Kansas City and he essentially gets revitalized by Andy Reid for a while until Mahomes comes in. So I feel that way about Tannehill, but Tannehill is doing it. It seems to, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but it feels
also goes to show that it depends on the system that you're surrounded in. Is it a system that they're going to build a system around a quarterback? Like they're going to do in Tampa Bay, they're going to build. They already have it in place where Tom is going to be going into a system that is playing up his strengths.
Yeah, I agree.
That is important. I see that there, definitely.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks in the system, what do you feel about the Phillip Rivers situation now? He's sliding in here into the Colts, into a dome stadium. Him and his 11 kids or 10 kids are coming to Indianapolis now. Look at this situation with Phillip Rivers. This is a team that has weapons. Jacoby Brissett, they tried him out.
Big social distance.
Yeah, that's the toughest social distance. No
groups of 10 or more, right?
You can basically sleep two to a room is what you have to do, I think. But with the Phillip Rivers, everyone's like, oh, they overpaid. Well, they had money to burn, so they gave him a nice contract, kind of motivate him a little bit. I think Rivers still has the talent and the skill to carry a team like Indianapolis.
That's a tough one. It's an interesting situation. I think that when Andrew Luck decided that he was not going to play last year, I think everybody was. I mean, nobody saw it coming, and especially considering the fact that he was put into a team that had every strength. So they just bolstered up their offensive line so strong to the point where it's like, well, why wouldn't he be successful in that situation? Why wouldn't he want to just try playing it?
Right.
When they spent all those years kind of building that team around him to keep him safe and protect him. So I do feel like Philip Rivers is going into an advantageous situation. I don't know necessarily if that is a great fit, because we looked at Jacoby Brissett, and as much as we didn't know about him, we thought that he would be successful there.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And so I don't know. They obviously know better than we do, but I guess the Colts have a team again that are trying to win now. So they feel like their best chance of winning now is with a quarterback that's veteran, that they feel like can get the job done. And it won't need any time transitioning, making those rookie mistakes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I like the idea of him sliding into this situation. You've got T.Y. Hilton in there. You've got those two other receivers that showed out when T.Y. went down. They were fantastic as two rookie receivers they had on their team. You got Melvin Mack back there. You've got a good offensive line to set you up a little bit, and you've got a strong defense. Not a great defense, but certainly a strong defense. So if and you've got to determine. Philip Rivers is one of those determined SOBs. He will fight to the end and try to win a game, and you need that grit and determination. Andrew Luck was that way too. He never gave up in games. Certainly that Kansas City playoff game a few years ago shows you that. And so you look at someone like someone like Philip Rivers. If he's going to bring that,
be a fly on the wall when he's like trash talking without saying a cuss word. That's an impressive skill.
God darn it, golly gee.
On that note, I'm gonna have to jump here so then my roommates can start talking again, because I told them that they can't be too loud. But
awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'm sure the fans thank you as well.
Social distance.
Social distance, yes, definitely. We'll have you back on again when you have time. Thank you, Taylor.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. See you. Well, there you go. That was Taylor Bisciotti coming on and joining me here for a few minutes. She had about 30 minutes to do it, and so I got her on, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me bring up another overlay maybe for myself that Jake made for me that'll just be a singular thing. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me look, and then I'll send out, because I got a little bit of time. Maybe some of y'all want to come on and ask me some questions. Let me see where it is. There it is. All right, let me download it. And let me bring it up. Oh, no, let me bring up, which one's that one? Let me bring up that one too as well. All right. And this one here. All right. Let's see which one works for me as I do the banner switch. Jake, let's see what I got. What do you got? Let's see what I got. Let's see. Game time. Just that one. How's that one? What's that one look like? Nope. That's those guys. All right. Hold on. Let's see what we can do here. Oh, maybe I can see him as there we go. And see what I got. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Boom. How about that one? I think this one's a little bit better, maybe. Oh, a little bit more of an open one. All right. What do you guys think? You guys like that one? I kind of like this one. And let's try one more and see if there's one that's like above. Yeah, let's do that one. I like that one better, actually. Let's make the switch real quick. All right, there we go. That's me right there. See the super, I see the game time there. See the Patreon for me down below, and then the Streamlabs as well. So keep sending in your Streamlabs if you want. Keep sending in your super chats. Why don't I stay on for a little bit longer and see what you guys got to say? Let me look at the chat and see where we're at right now. How many we got in here? We got about 100 of you guys in here. How many likes do we have? Are you guys looking at the likes? Is anyone looking at the likes? Can we get me over 100 yet, or are we not there yet? Let me get into the broadcast studio and see what we have. Oh, 71 likes. All right, get me above 100. I'd really appreciate it. And we can put it together from there. Let's see if any more Streamlabs have come through before I jump on to the next story here with from the sports world. Anything? All right, cool. All right, we got ourselves the super chats and the Streamlabs all caught up. Yeah, guys, that was Taylor. That was Taylor Bisciotti. She was stopping by for about half an hour. She had a lot going on there over at her apartment. She's got 2 other roommates, so unfortunately, she can't give me a full hour or 2 hours like we have with Jay and Winston at this point because of what she's doing. But I think you got some good thoughts from her head about what's going down. Thank you, Jake. Says he's got to head out. Work is kicking us out to telework for the next 2 weeks. Oh, nice. You're heading home, Jake. I appreciate that. That's great. Good to see you. Let's see. Then move on to another thing. Joe Flacco has been released by the Denver Broncos, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Joe Flacco. The Denver Broncos released him. He's being with a failed physical designation. So he was due to be placed. He was placed on injured reserve rather halfway through the season last year with a herniated disc. He was only 2-6 for the Broncos last year, throwing 1,800 yards and 6 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. He's 35 years old with 2 years remaining on his contract. They've got $23.65 million that will be counted against their cap in 2020 and $27.65 million that will be counted against their cap in 2021. By releasing Flacco, the Broncos just saved themselves over $10 million against the cap. So the Broncos agreed to a deal with quarterback Jeff Driscoll to be Drew Lock's backup. Drew Lock kind of stepped in and played some interesting games for the Broncos. So that's the future there. I don't think Flacco finds himself on any other team other than maybe a backup in some situation. Maybe he goes down to Tampa. He's like a backup for Tom Brady. Why not 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks on your roster? There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll see what happens with him there. And of course, Teddy Bridgewater, that whole situation, we know all about that. We just talked about that as well. Now, a lot of people are speculating with the Teddy Bridgewater situation where Cam Newton's going to go. There's a lot of suggestions. I was looking at CBSSports.com, and I wanted to kind of hit some of those. The Las Vegas Raiders were mentioned. Will he go up and back up Derek Carr here and Marcus Mariota? Do they have a plethora of quarterbacks over there in Las Vegas to give Gruden some choices, some options? I wouldn't put it past Gruden. He's mad like that. As much as he loved Mariota, maybe he might want to have someone slide in here in the third slot and do what he needs to do there with Cam, or maybe Cam put some competition on the Raiders. Another team they mentioned, as Taylor and I spoke about, was the Los Angeles Chargers. Certainly could be a big bang for the Chargers to get Cam Newton, although Anthony Lynn is very big, the coach of the Chargers, on turnovers. And Cam does turn the ball over at times with his fumbling or with his interceptions. So that could be an irritating situation for him. Are the New England Patriots in play for Cam Newton? Wouldn't that be insane? What a difference of styles clashing into each other here when you've got Belichick's more laid-back style, more kind of, kick hard-ass style versus the flamboyance of Cam Newton, the arrogance a little bit of Cam Newton, and the belief of Cam Newton in himself. Would that be an interesting combination? You got his style of flinging it all over the field. But certainly, if you don't have a lot of weapons in New England, that could be a problem for Cam Newton overall. Could expose Cam's limits as a quarterback and could ask him to maybe do too much for a quarterback coming back from injury, from his physical injury. That could be shocking overall to see the Patriots kind of sign Cam Newton. And the Washington Redskins, that's another one that's certainly a possibility in my mind. Already, Ron Rivera and his coaching staff has not made it, how can I say this? Has not made it abundantly clear that they want to stick with Dwayne Haskins as their starting quarterback. So is the move here for them to go and get Cam Newton? Of course, reuniting Rivera with Cam Newton and his quarterbacks coach, Scott Turner, who is now the offensive coordinator for the Redskins. Would this be a marriage made in heaven, essentially moving Cam Newton over to the Redskins? I personally wouldn't mind it as a Redskins fan because Cam gets us a better chance to win, I believe, at this stage in his career than Haskins does at his stage in his career. So this could be fascinating. And the Redskins were trying to pry Amari Cooper from the Cowboys. Amari Cooper just signed a 2-year deal. I think it's a 2-year deal. Let me look that up real quick, make sure I get that. No, I'm sorry, it's a 5-year deal for $100 million to re-sign with the Cowboys. That's what he negotiated. But he was trying to get that $22 to $25 million deal that Julio Jones has. And in the end, he went back to the Cowboys for a little bit less. But the Redskins were looking to offer him that kind of money. So maybe if they had someone like Cam Newton at quarterback, maybe that's a more attractive situation for Amari Cooper than going with an unproven rookie and a sophomore quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. That's a possibility. I didn't get to ask Taylor about the Chicago Bears situation, trading a 4th-round pick for Nick Foles here out of the Jaguars. Is this the right choice for the Bears? This is an interesting situation. This is the beginning. Don't you feel this is like kind of the beginning of the end of the Mitchell Trubisky situation? Like he's not going to be the quarterback there for too much longer for the Chicago Bears. That's a kind of a thing at the end of the day that you're like, well, does this make any sense for Trubisky to feel that kind of breath on his neck? Because he hasn't shown us over the last 2 years that he's the kind of guy that can react well to pressure or react well to having a challenge put forth on him. So I'd be a little bit surprised if we got ourselves a stronger Mitchell Trubisky instead of a scared Mitchell Trubisky. So that's what I'm thinking overall. Let's see. Oh, is Saul in here? So, who's the week 1 starting quarterback for the Saul's asking, who is the week 1 starting quarterback for the New England Patriots this year? Well, this is a great question, Saul. I'm not used to you asking great questions, but I'll address it anyway. Jarrett Stidham, they're saying this is the guy. This is the guy they're going to go with. That's what they're saying out loud right now. There's rumors about Andy Dalton maybe kind of sliding in there, but do you really see a broken down, aging Andy Dalton challenging for the number 1 spot with the New England Patriots? I don't. I personally don't. I think it'd be a tougher situation for him to slide in there and take that spot and be the number 1 starting quarterback for the NFL, for the New England Patriots. And I think the Patriots fans would absolutely rain down boos on Andy Dalton. Whereas you've got Jarrett Stidham. This is a fourth round pick out of Auburn. He's been the backup for Brady last year. He's a little more of a mobile quarterback. You got to see what you got in the kid. So unfortunately with the coronavirus stuff, you don't know, like they're about to turn the corner into where they would normally be going into training camp, doing these voluntary mini camps, things of that nature. We got the draft coming up at the end of April. So not being able to be in camp a little earlier, start working with the coaches, this could be a situation going down the road that could be negative for Jarrett Stidham, but we'll see. We'll see. I think he is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots going into the season. I don't see anyone out there this side of Cam Newton, and I don't believe they'll bring Cam Newton in, even though I was just talking about the possibility. I just don't see anyone outside of Cam Newton being able to step into the shoes of Tom Brady and give that team a chance to win their opening game weekend stronger than the guy who's been sitting there for the last year or two behind Brady and who they seem to have faith in. So we'll see overall what happens with that. Yeah, either Dalton or a QB in the draft, says Andy Burnett. That's a fair point. It looks like they're drafting. Facetious Christ says, where y'all get your news? From a number of reputable sites. I don't know what he's talking about. John Rocha, breaking news, Sean Payton tests positive for coronavirus. Yes, Saul, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. In the first 10 minutes of the show, Taylor brought it up and we talked about it and addressed it. Okay, yeah, certainly a sad situation, and hopefully, he'll bounce back, and hopefully he didn't infect the rest of his family or some members of his family with that coronavirus, because you don't know where that's going to lead overall for him. So hopefully that won't be an issue overall. Let me take my things out. I don't need to have these on anymore. There we go. Jeremy Miller says they need to start testing now before it gets worse. I don't disagree with you at all. Facetious Crisis says that's what I was talking about. Yeah, ESPN's reporting that Sean Payton has tested positive for coronavirus for sure. So, yeah, Jeremiah Fuertes wants to know if I'm talking in the NBA news. There doesn't seem to be much other than the breaking news of stuff that you talked about a while ago. A while ago? What a while ago? Teddy Bridgewater signing for was not a while ago, champ. Was not a while ago at all. Cam Newton is the situation that I'm talking about. So I don't know what he's talking about a while ago. I was mentioning the situation with the Bears and Nick Foles. We didn't talk about that on Game Time at all. Stephon Diggs is another one that's a situation here. Stephon Diggs going to the Bills for 4 picks for the Bills. That's a strong statement. Marcus Mariota, as I mentioned earlier, to the Raiders. Drew Brees staying in New Orleans. Speaking of the New Orleans Saints, he's staying in New Orleans 2 years. I think it's a $50 million contract, taking a little bit less so the Saints can use that money to go and get other free agents, kind of help them along in the situation. So we'll see overall. Yeah, never mind. Exactly. You should be never mind. Champ, move on, son. And so there's a lot here going down the pike with this, with the NFL free agency already in the last week. So much has happened since Monday when we did Sports Time with Winston and Jay. A lot of these deals went through that we didn't see happening or we were speculating might happen down the road. Certainly the Nick Foles situation is fascinating for Mitchell Trubisky. We'll see. Chris Sale has Tommy John surgery. That's what Ed Haskell is reporting. that Chris Sale, the Red Sox pitcher, has Tommy John surgery. So there you go. He's going to take care of his. Look, if there's any time to do it, now's the time. This seems to be going to be a weird sports calendar year overall. So if you've got something you need to take care of surgery-wise, why not do it now? And certainly save yourself a year in that situation. Dang MQ says, dear Mitch Trubisky, I hate you now. Bears GM Ryan Pace. That's hilarious. Andy Burnett says it's crazy to see how much is happening in the sports, even without the NCAA tournament. That's for sure. That's for sure in this situation. And there's so much still to happen. There's so many free agents that are still out there. I'm gonna bring up a list here from The Athletic. You got yourselves someone like Jadeveon Clowney. He's up in this thing, still around, and for people to teams to pick up. He's not as strong as he was in years when he first started, and he's more of a free roaming defensive player than he is, someone you could put in a certain position and expect him to adhere to these kinds of things. But he's still it could be an essential part of your defense if you're not relying on him. If you're just depending on him but not relying on him, there's a difference. I think Robbie Anderson is an interesting situation as a free agent that's out there. Maybe he could sign for the Jets. That could be funny. That could be interesting. That he signs for the Buccaneers, leaving the Jets. I think Robbie's like what's his face? That guy that played for the Torrey Smith. He's like Torrey Smith. He's a speedster and he can get open. He can get you. He's so inconsistent. He's Jekyll and Hyde from game to game, Robbie. But when he's good, he is so good. When he's not good, he disappears in games. So, but are the Bucs set up with weapons already on the receiver side of the ball? We'll see. I mean, Robbie Anderson is a nice choice. You've got Mike Evans down there, certainly for the Buccaneers, but I think Robbie Anderson could be a nice situation for them to slide into. Emmanuel Sanders could be a nice possession receiver. Lord knows Brady loves those little possession receivers going across the middle, getting open. I think Sanders' days of being like a deep threat are limited or are running out. And why not convert him into a possession receiver, just like he had before with Julian Edelman or any number of other people who played the possession receiver position. Troy Brown for Tom Brady. Certainly Emmanuel Sanders could slide into that role just fine for them, in my personal opinion. So a lot there. It's interesting with the Bears, though. They got two of these guys who are roaming out there who they just let go of. Prince Amakumara, one of their cornerbacks that they had there. And let me see if I can find the other cornerback. HaHa Clinton Dix also roaming out there as they were let go by the Bears. Devonta Freeman is an interesting situation, too. Does Devonta Freeman go down to Tampa Bay? Is he in a situation for the Buccaneers to explore or have on their team? Yeah, he didn't. Last year, he was 3.6 yards per carry, got 1,066 yards when he returned from injury, but we'd seen him play better. And sometimes it takes a year to fully recover from the injury, to remember what it is to take those hits. And maybe this year he comes back behind a better offensive line and he's a better running back. That's certainly possible for Devonta Freeman, and we'll see. Chris Godwin is a slot guy, is what Nicholas Miklas is saying. Yeah, we'll see. Evans and Goodwin are a very good 1-2 in Tampa Bay. Anderson would be a great addition. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Andy Bernard. You can't have too many. Facetious Christ says, let's try this again. I'm off the wine. LOL. People in the chat is who I was talking that were breaking news that you talked about a while ago. And that was, okay. Thank you, Facetious. I appreciate you coming down on them. I respect that. John Rocha, Star Drew wants to know, who do you think will be a good team in the NFC East? Lions, Bears, Packers, or Vikings? Well, first of all, Star Drew, that's not the NFC East. That's the NFC. Is it NFC North or Central? It used to be the Central, is now the North. The Lions, the Bears, the Packers, or the Vikings. I think the Packers and Vikings are your choices there. I think the Packers certainly will come back with a little more knowledge of their coach's offense. Now, LaFleur's offense are going to have a better grasp of that offense even more. I'm sure him and Rodgers have already working out kinks and working out some of the smoothing out some of the rough edges that they had there working together last year. And they did really well last year for the most part. They just need a little extra oomph, a little extra grit, a little extra strength that would have gotten them over the hill. The Vikings, I think, with Kirk Cousins, they certainly feel like they've got what they need with Kirk Cousins. And we'll see. I think losing Stephon Diggs to the Bills for 4 picks, that's incredible. 4 picks for one receiver like Stephon Diggs, who isn't even a number one receiver. I found that to be shocking. And I mean, number one in terms of productivity and consistency, right? And that's what you had with Stephon in certain games, but not consistently, whether it was the offense's fault, Kirk Cousins' fault, who's to say? But Stephon Diggs can certainly get you yardage and get you points. The question is, can he be a number one guy every single game? We haven't seen that yet. And so that's an interesting situation for the Bills to kind of deal with now with Josh Allen. But you look at this situation with the Vikings. Will he slide into this and will the Vikings be able to keep going without Stephon Diggs and be just as effective as they were last year, almost threatening for the title of the division and getting into those playoffs and making some noise? So we shall see. I mean, Kirk Cousins did get his first playoff victory, so that's off his back now. And so maybe that's the thing that kind of gets him to settle down a little bit and puts him back in the right frame of mind for to show what he can do. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get closer here with the camera. I don't like to be too far away. There we go. That's a little bit better for me personally. Maybe just a little bit right there. There we go. A little bit there. There we go. That's better for me. Overall, you're not seeing too much of the edges of my room. So we'll see. I mean, I like the idea of the Vikings. I don't think the Bears are going to bounce back with Trubisky. I don't think, or with Nick Foles. I don't think that's the key at all. That's my personal feeling about the whole situation. See if I got any Streamlabs rolling up here. Oh, Suge Knight, Outlaw Nation. What's up, John? I'm a huge Steelers fan, and I see my Steelers being number 2 in the AFC. I don't think the Ravens are as good as advertised. With Steelers defense, Big Ben, and young wide receivers, I feel Steelers are under the radar. Thoughts? Listen, man, you never count out the Pittsburgh Steelers, Suge Knight. Thank you for the donation, by the way. You never count out the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a team that can always show up, always get it done. Hell, even last year with that makeshift quarterback situation, moving dudes in and out of that position after Big Ben had gotten injured, they still were close to the playoffs. And if they had set up the playoffs this year, like they just, last year, like they just agreed to in the collective bargaining agreement, the Steelers would have made the playoffs. That's kind of mind blowing. With all the stuff that was going on, they still had a determination and a grit to get into those playoffs. And so to me, yes, I never count them out. I think the Steelers are certainly possible. Could be number 2. Could be number 1, honestly. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson was found out a little bit over these last 2 playoff cycles. I mean, losing in the first round 2 years ago, and then losing last year in the second round, and like convincingly so. It wasn't; these games weren't necessarily close. Lamar was mentally out of it by the second half. So that tells you that maybe there's something here that needs to be explored, and that defenses could maybe see what the Chargers did and then what the Titans did against them and shock them going forward consistently next year. So it could be the Steelers once again taking that pole position in the AFC North. So I could see that absolutely happening. So don't think the Baltimore Ravens have this thing locked up in any way, shape, or form. And like I said, I never count out the Steelers. Never count out the Steelers. All right, let's see if some of you want to ask some questions. I'm going to put the link in here to invite you all in here and I'm going to grab a quick drink while you all kind of maybe line yourselves up in here. Let me put it in here. Let me see. Paste and boom. All right. So if you want to come on, that is the link. I'm going to put it in here 3 times. So if you want to come on and ask some questions live before I wrap this thing up, let's drop it right there. All right. Come on in and ask your questions. I'm going to grab a quick Coke Zero. I'll be right back. All right. How many we got in here today right now? Oh, over 100. Thank you. All right. Let me put the headphones on. We'll get this thing going. Yeah, get me to 100, guys. Get me to 100. Would be nice. Get me to 100. 100 likes, I mean. Yeah, this is kind of an impromptu show. Taylor, we reached out over Twitter, and she said, absolutely, I'll come on. And she said that the NFL Network was needing her back. So we couldn't have her on for the full hour, unfortunately. So we got 30 minutes. So I was happy about that. All right. Anybody else does anybody want to come in? and maybe ask a question live. If not, I'll just keep going with what I was talking about here before we set it all up here. Saul says, okay, let's not get all carried away and forget how young Lamar Jackson is. Dude hasn't even come close to peaking yet. Sure. But he still hasn't done what needs to be done. Dang MQ says, in movie news, Mission Impossible 7 has resumed production. Pretty cool. Joseph Asher says, you're going to talk about Lakers being self-quarantined because they played Lakers weeks ago? Lakers played the Lakers, Joseph? What do you mean? I don't know what that means. Anyway. All right, Suge Knight, let's get you in here, son. Woo! What's going down, dude?
I was just actually streamlining you right now when you said
really?
if you wanted. Yeah, but I'll still send you the money. Don't worry. It's not even an issue. I'll still send you the money. Oh, God, I look like crap right now. I just got off work. I'm sorry. Still with my kids.
Don't sweat it.
So what I was streamlabbing you was how this virus is going to affect the UFC and boxing, because we do have the Wilder Fury fight. We did have a McGregor fight lined up, possibly with whoever, and the Tony Khabib fight. I think is going to be at their Vegas center, correct?
Yeah,
and not an actual stadium.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to talk to you about that, and then I was going to ask you your top 5 fights of all time.
Wow.
Whether UFC or boxing, but it doesn't. You don't have to go that long. You can name 2 or something. But
well,
I was just saying.
From what I'm reading here, the UFC is closing all offices through March 31st, man, and they're postponing all the fights. So this is a developing situation for them. They had fights lined up in London, in Columbus, and in Portland, and they're all going to be postponed according to Dana White. Okay. So this is where I don't think we're going to see anything for quite some time. I'm telling you, man, this thing is a developing situation, at least in the States. I'm starting to see that China is, their Apple stores already opened. They're possibly going to open some theaters coming up down the road. So it would be ironic as hell that it's all started in China. They reacted quicker than any other country reacted initially, aside maybe than South Korea, and they may be opening up for business quicker than any other country. And will people start like scheduling stuff in China just to recoup some of the money? Will we see the WWE in China, the UFC in China? I don't know. And so
I think we could see the UFC, because we do have a UFC champion.
Yes,
right. in the strawweight division, so we could see actually a fight being scheduled over there if they really wanted. If they really wanted to, my daughter's talking.
No, it's all right. I like it. I dig it.
But yeah, so
saying, I get it. I totally
right. She told me today I wasn't allowed to high five her because of the coronavirus. So.
Right, fair. That's fair.
So
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, brother.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Saul says they postponed every fight except Khabib versus Ferguson.
Oh well, yeah, because that's a huge pay-per-view loss if they cancel that fight. Yeah, that's a huge pay-per-view loss.
Yeah, it's true. That's true, and this is where the WWE comes in, because they're going to take a wash. They were looking at a $27 million loss or $25 million loss for not doing WrestleMania. So you look at UFC and you think maybe this is something they couldn't afford to go down.
I mean, they're gonna take a loss, but if you got everybody quarantined and everyone's gonna order pay-per-view, I mean, your pay-per-view buys are probably going to be up the roof, and you're just going to lose out on the live stadium thing. Yeah. So I mean, you're going to take a loss, but you're going to gain more. You're just not going to lose as much, I believe, at the end.
Yeah. Well, this may be where it's going, because Dana White said we've complied with everything that the government and these doctors have said to do. We have no choice but to postpone these fights. But Ferguson versus Khabib, April 18th is still on, and that one will happen. We're going to follow these guidelines to not have more than 10 people in a room, and we're hoping that this all clears up by April. Keep dreaming. This fight is going to happen, no crowd, whatever it takes. Probably not even going to be in the United States. See, there's a clue there. Will he go to China, where it's going to be a more conducive to have that to have the fight there? That's certainly possible. And you mentioned this Chinese fighter. She just finished destroying Joanna.
I don't want to say destroyed. I mean, she beat her ass, but Joanna put up a fight. No, her face looked. Jesus, her face looked like she got beat with a baseball bat. But I don't think that was a destroying fight. I think Joanna, if she had landed a couple good hits, she might have been able to take her out. But that girl's tough. That wasn't an all-time girls fight. That was a great fight. Period. That was a great fight. Period. There wasn't a women's fight, this and that. That was a great all-time fight, and I really enjoyed that fight. That was awesome. It was better than the main event. I was pissed off about that.
Yeah, that main event was weird. That was like watching two guys in high school talking smack to each other, and all they do is just stand around like this the whole time.
I mean, I get it from Izzy's point of view. I mean, you've seen what Romero's done, so you want to play it safe, but at the same time, you're the champion. You're supposed to, make the fight excitable and everything like that. And he played it safe, but you like he said, Romero, why didn't Romero come? If he's the challenger, you have to beat the champion. Why didn't you go forward? And he decided he didn't want to do that. Yeah. So in my mind, that's all on Romero not doing it. I think Paulo Costa is going to probably give Izzy a harder fight, but I think Paulo Costa is too raw, and I think Izzy's just going to just outmove him and everything like that. I think Romero was the one guy that could knock out Izzy. Yeah. If Izzy, because you saw it, there was a couple hits where Izzy almost went. If he would have got hit squared, Izzy was done. Right. So I mean, even though I like Izzy Adesanya, I believe Romero was his hardest fight, and I would tell him, don't even take a rematch. Don't even even bother. Well, you fight to other people. Yeah. Nobody wanted to fight Romero, and he's smart. He fought the smart fight. Yeah. But if that's how you're gonna fight every time, nobody's gonna want to watch it.
Exactly. You're not gonna make any money.
Nobody's gonna make any money. So
only if you're Mayweather do you make money fighting like that.
Right.
Yeah. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. They said the third fight. This is coming from Frank Warren, and this is today, actually, earlier this afternoon. Frank Warren, along with WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, he promotes him. Says there's no guarantee that a trilogy fight with Deontay Wilder is going to come off in July. They're saying that it will take some time for them to set this thing off because of the coronavirus. And honestly, I don't think they want to fight him a third time because they feel like they won the first time, and they really obviously won the second time. So they feel like they've mastered this guy. But then you hear this talk about Triple G versus Canelo, and you're like, well, what more needs to be proven here? Because I see Triple G is on the downside of his stuff, whereas Canelo is only getting stronger and in just a full on in his prime.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was actually in Vegas during the second fight, Triple G and Canelo fight. And do we want to see this fight? But we need to have a definitive ending. I don't want to see a judge's decision. I don't want to see a stand around fight. I want to see either a knockout or an ass whooping. Come on, there was nothing left for Deontay, man. That was I guess there was a judge's decision, but it was a judge's decision so he doesn't die in the ring. I mean, no, not that. I'm talking about actual judge's decision where it goes to the scorecard. No, Deontay was getting destroyed. Yes. He was getting outboxed. I mean, when you have a man looking out in the crowd, licking the blood off of you, it's come on, you're done. I mean, you're done. And then the fact that you find out that Deontay didn't have a ruptured eardrum, and he was just getting his ass whooped. I mean. Yeah, no, I think the third fight with that, I think that fight if you're Wilder, you want it because you want to try to prove yourself and say, look, I can beat him. But for in Fury's part, you think, man, I whooped his ass the first time, he got lucky and caught me, and the second time I beat his ass even worse. I mean, I don't know if can I cuss on this? I don't know.
Of course. I don't care. Yeah.
But you beat him the second time. So I think for Fury, I think it's Joshua. I think you go to Joshua. And as far as Canelo, Triple G, same thing. I want to see a definitive ending, and then I don't want to see them fight each other again. If you're going to have this trilogy fight, have it, and then I don't want to see it again. I want to see Canelo, if he beats him, go after somebody else, maybe another Mayweather fight if Mayweather wants to come back, because he's always down. Yeah, and see somebody else. I don't want to see another fight between them two. And so I just. Boxing's really changed, man. Boxing's really changed, but UFC's getting that way too. UFC's becoming stale, and it's starting to bother me. Yeah, it's becoming so stale. Yeah. So
all right, cool. Thank you, Suge. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You have a good one.
You too. Brandon Buck, what's up, dude? How's it going, man?
Just enjoying my day, and I swear every day there's more. This guy signs with this team. This guy gets traded. I swear the first 72 hours of the start of the NFL season is amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other sport, they kind of spread it out a little bit. NFL, first 3 or 4 days, this guy signs, this guy gets traded.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
This guy gets let go. This guy gets cut.
Yeah,
you know,
but,
all that kind of stuff.
Gurley makes sense. I just didn't think that the Rams would actually do it. I really didn't think they'd do it.
Really? Considering the team, I mean, he's just useless for them right now. Listen, I tell you this,
the
right
dead
now.
cap hit though. They're basically paying him to go away. Like it's so much money.
Well, the Broncos are doing the same thing with Flacco. They're paying him $20 million or $23 million this year to go away and $27 million next year to go away. That's mind blowing how much money they owe that kid.
Yeah.
And I say kid because he's younger than me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So you have two, like if you would ask me 3 years ago that David Johnson and Todd Gurley would have been traded or let go or cut, I'd be like, no way.
Right.
I'm a diehard Cardinals fan. So you would have asked me that a couple years ago? No way. You would have asked me in October that they would be able to trade David Johnson for, in my opinion, top 3 wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and like a second round pick. I'll be like, okay, take it. All right, let's go. Like I was like, no way that's happening.
Are you excited?
They literally robbed the Texans.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien and this rumor about some of the things that he said, if they're true, he's done. There's no way he'll get another job.
A lot of people don't like him already. This just kind of adds on to the pile. When there's this much smoke, you know there's a lot of fire, dude. And I think with Bill O'Brien, what he did with Jadeveon Clowney, what he did now again with Hopkins, like there's just a track record of this guy doing too much. And they've really hamstrung Deshaun Watson into a bad situation. Like if I was Deshaun, there's no damn way I would re-up with this team and with him as the coach.
There's no way that Watson's gonna basically sign his second contract. There's no way. You took away the only weapon that he had.
Yeah.
And you still don't have an offensive line. So he's probably going to end up being like Andrew Luck. He's going to retire super early.
Maybe.
Because his health is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So the Texans are going to be a team to keep an eye on out here the next few years. But question I wanted to ask you.
Please.
What do we get? Do we get a World Series game on Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Of next year? No, here's what I'll tell you. I don't think you want my honest opinion, bro. I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see, unless things start to speed up with how things are going in our country. I don't see a sports universe happening until next year. I just have a feeling with what they're like. The SEC yesterday or 2 days ago, while we were talking, they canceled all the spring football games. There is no crazier conference about football than the SEC. If they're canceling their spring football games, then there's something more serious than we thought. Look how many cases jumped up overnight. Not because people had or are being. It's because the testing is increased. With testing increased, and we're going to get more cases. More cases is going to freak people out. Look at someone like Sean Payton. If Sean Payton had been in the middle of the season and he contracted this thing, that'd have shut the entire NFL down. They'd have just shut it down because of all the handshakes and them bringing it onto the field, sweating into other people's mouths or other people's bodies. And during a football game, all these saints that would have shook Sean Payton's hand possibly or been around him possibly, they didn't want to take the risk. I mean, one player contracted the coronavirus in the NBA and they shut the whole season down. You know, and that tells you right there, like this is they didn't shut, but they suspended for 30 days. And I think in 30 days, they're going to revisit it again and shut it down. Like, I just don't think
what they'll do is they'll just cancel the rest of the regular season, and whoever the top 8 in each conference is, that's the playoffs.
If they even have a playoffs, that's what I'm trying to get at. I don't know, because I mean, look, I remember I was alive when the AIDS thing happened with Magic Johnson, right? Players were freaking out. This is more immediate. If you get this virus, you could die quickly. And those things that you throw into the mix here, and that scares players. Yes, you could have money, you could have whatever, but if your immune system for whatever reason is conducive to that virus, anything could happen to you, or you could pass it on to a family member who's older, you know, a grandfather, grandmother, what have you, who could pass on from that. And do you want to take that chance just for playing the game when you can just sit back for a couple of months and come back next year when things have been solved and maybe they found a cure, then you're fine. So I don't know what's happening in China. I don't know what they're doing in China. It sounds like they've fixed this or they're on the path to coming back to normal. But until we get that going in motion, I don't see a sports season happening, to be honest with you. I mean, we're barely going to have the Schmodown, to be honest with you. Like, a lot of us are nervous about it, but we're going to do it because we're not like sweating on top of each other or playing in a physical sports. But I think we're going to carry on having the games. Or the matches rather. We're just not going to do them at the same level that we had them before. And there's going to be a lot of precautions. And we're not even like sweat. Like I said, we're not even playing and sweating on top of each other. That's just,
I mean, you guys probably sort of are, because you got those lights that beam down on top of you. So you probably get sweat from that, but not like sweating profusely where you could fill up an entire bottle of water from all the running around. So the Schmodown is a sport, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah.
I get a little perturbed when I hear people complain about spoilers. I'm sports don't have spoilers. So
deal with is what you're saying.
Yeah, I see that. So no, it's going to be an interesting couple of months here. I really hope we get sports back, because sports is kind of the thing I cope with when I'm not feeling well.
Yeah, man.
And also going to a movie. Can't do that either.
Yeah.
So the two things that I use to cope.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, isn't it? And I think a lot of people are going to have to figure out what to do with their lives, because look, there's so many movies we can see on streaming services. We need variety. We're used to it as Americans. We're used to having a variety of things to distract us. It doesn't even necessarily cost that much if you know when to go to certain things. So we like to have distractions. The fact that we're being made to stay indoors will eventually get on our nerves, and people will. You're already seeing people who are being stupid about it. And there are people who, I was just reading or watching a video earlier today about people in California who are still dining out to eat. There are restaurants who are not closing, and they are willingly bringing people on to eat at their establishments because they are defying these orders and these limits because they want to keep making money. They want to stay alive. And I don't necessarily fault them until we have something in place from the government that kind of makes up for the losses that they would experience because it's the government telling people to stay home. So those are those things that you have to kind of balance out overall. Are you really going to take care of all the businesses or just some of the businesses? And I think that is how this thing is going to spread. People being casual about it, people being Americans about it. You know, we don't like to be put in cages. We don't like to be told who the hell we are. We're a very independent nation. And so that's going to be the pushback of this whole thing. And it isn't until like a swath of people die across the country that I think people will finally stop. I don't think it's enough to just say people should stop. So I think that's going to affect sports overall. We'll see.
Well, not just sports.
Anything, yeah, true. So. Not just sports. Very good point. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it, man. Good to see you, dude.
You too, Rocha.
Take care, bro.
You too.
Oh, shit. Now we got some trouble. What's up, Ferris? How you doing, bro?
Man, I've gotten to the part of trouble now.
You always bring the controversy.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. I'm doing good, Johnny. I just wanted to hop on and say what's up. You know,
please.
talk a little bit shop with you. You know, I can't believe you got Taylor Bisciotti on. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's nice. Just amazing, man.
She's at home and she was like, "I'm going stir crazy. Hell yeah, I'll come on." I was like, "Great. I hope they get Jared Habe down the road and all the old regulars from Sports Time. That'll be fun."
Yeah, man, I quite enjoy NFL state-run TV. You know what I mean? That NFL network. You know, that NFL network, man. You know, the NFL films, that good propaganda. You know?
Yeah, I love it.
I like that. Yeah, man. So, my question is basically, with the moves we've had in free agency, what teams? Because I'm pretty sure you've been following free agency. You're John Rocha. You follow everything, man.
Yeah. I try to.
So like on the list of teams that have dipped their foot in free agency, what are your top three teams that are have done the most good in this period? You know.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Vikings have done an excellent job. I know a lot of people aren't talking about them, and I think the Cleveland Browns have done an excellent job, which shocks the hell out of me. It's funny you asked me this question because that was kind of the last question I was going to ask Taylor before she had to jump off. You know, I'm a slave to her schedule. Whatever time she can give me, I'll take. So, but one of the questions I had for her at the end was, who do you think is winning free agency right now? Kind of read up a bunch of stuff up on the Ringer, up on CBS Sports, up on the Athletic, things of that nature, kind of finding out who people think, who these season analysts think are winning. And the two teams that keep popping up are the Vikings and the Browns. The moves they've made, quiet moves that they've made to shore up what they have been smart. Now you talk about Kirk Cousins, that's kind of a bigger move, but letting go of Stephon Diggs and getting 4 picks for that is pretty good business overall. I think
they fleeced the Bills. I agree. They did fleece the Bills. They fleeced them, man. Because and some people in NFL circles they've said Adam Thielen is the better receiver.
Yeah.
Some say that. Some say they like Stephon more. Me, I'm particular to Adam. I like Adam a little bit more. So getting a first, a third, and I think a fourth and a 2021 fifth for Stephon Diggs, you got them. And the Bills were desperate because they got Mr. I have no idea what accuracy is behind center. So they need a receiver who's gonna catch anything, because like that man is all throwing the ball all willy nilly and stuff. So they need a big bodied receiver who has a good catch. They got Stephon Diggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think they could have. But I think they're also going to be looking for a receiver in the draft as well to pair, because they're gonna load up with offense, because Sean McDermott, you give him table scraps, he'll make a good defense out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to draft offensive players early and often, because they need to mitigate the pain of what they have behind center.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, one of the pieces that I was reading, and I want to give props to Stephen Rees over at USA Today. He had the Minnesota Vikings #1 for him because they spent $142 million in the cap. They got 11 free agents signed. They've essentially added 27 points. That's how he looked at this thing. So cost per point, $5.4 million per point. That's a positive overall, keeping Kirk Cousins in that situation, and you get rid of a distraction like Stephon Diggs. And, Saul was saying earlier, they was trying to give Bill O'Brien a little bit of credit. This is a wide receiver heavy draft. And certainly everyone is saying that. So maybe the Vikings see something here they can bring in. And don't forget, Robbie Anderson's out there. There's a number of players that you can make up, not fully Stephon Diggs's, you can't really equal his production, but you can get close with some of those receivers that are out there. And Kirk Cousins already showed at the tail end of last year, he was figuring out that offense more and more after kind of stumbling to start the year. So I think that's the smart move overall, keeping that consistency on your team. It's good for Kirk as well, who was going through multiple offensive coordinators over with the Redskins. So I like this idea of him being allowed to be consistent on a team. Another team they looked at was the Denver Broncos. They gave a lot of love to the Denver Broncos in this as well. I mean, getting rid of Joe Flacco, they took the hit, but you got rid of Joe Flacco, who you're never going to play anyway. Drew Lock steps in here, so it's a good business.
That was I can't believe no one talks about that in the draft. So when I was seeing him fall and he kept falling, and I was like, yo, something has to be wrong with him. Because quarterbacks with red flags get picked up. Boom.
Oh, yeah.
I give him. So he's dropping. And I'm like, he's still available.
Yeah. What is
this dude must have some serious problems about him if he's dropping to the 4th round and he's a quarterback. That's specific, like it's just the quarterback. Like other positions drop far for other reasons, but quarterbacks, they're usually snatched up like that, even with some concerns.
Yeah.
So I'm like, something's seriously wrong with this kid. And then I realized nothing was wrong with this kid.
Nope.
GMs are just dumb.
Yeah.
They're just dumb.
Well,
you know what I mean?
There's so much money dancing around. There's so many players, Ferris. These GMs, more times than not, I would say 90% of the time, err on the side of caution. Yeah. If they hear anything wrong with a player, they won't take a chance unless that player comes in with national championships and what have you. Like I think Tua, the only reason people are talking about Tua's been injured twice now in the last 2 years. The only reason they're talking about him is because he's won national championships with Bama. And so you're going to slide him into this position. We shall see what he does. Whoever picks him up, will he be injury prone? Will he be a Greg Oden type player who's got all this like pedigree behind it, but once he steps in onto a court or onto the field, he's injury prone. He can't reproduce the great stuff you were hoping he could do in the NFL on the next level. And I think Tua certainly can go one of two ways. He can be a decent quarterback and become a good quarterback, or he's going to crash out of the NFL with multiple injuries. I think that's certainly on the plate.
Yeah, what I think is that with GMs in the league, there's two types of GMs. Like there's the one you talked about that's cautious, that errs like, okay, let's just be safe. And there's other GMs that be like, I don't care. Does he play football? Put him on my team. I don't care. Yeah, like John Dorsey, he's like, he come on, let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Come on, let's go win some games. I don't care.
Yeah. I felt that way about Ozzie Newsome as well. People don't give him enough credit as a GM of the Ravens and what he did there, building those teams up, taking chances on players. Him doing the research for them that he needed to, picking them in later rounds.
Exactly, yeah, man. When you become a GM of a team and the first 2 picks you select are 2 Hall of Famers, I think you did a pretty good job as a GM. You know what I mean?
I don't
And,
disagree with you.
You know, they built that. See, same thing with the Ravens. See, they lost Michael Pierce and they traded for Calais Campbell. I'd be like, Calais is an upgrade. No offense to Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce is a very good player, but I'm particularly to Calais Campbell. I think he's a pretty good player. I think Jacksonville kind of wasted him. They had that one good year. Calais Campbell has I think 3 to 4 more years in this league.
Yeah, I agree. I think anybody who played with Jacksonville, you have to give a different. I don't know. You have to grade on a bell curve because that situation was a shit show for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So you don't know how that can affect you mentally. You know, I argue this all the time with people in sports. They're like, well, if you're talented, you're talented. They should be giving 100% every down. It's not the way it works, man. Mentally, in any job, no matter how much you pay people, they're still human beings. They want to be inspired to do their best. If they look around, they see a shitty quarterback situation, a shitty coaching situation, the last thing they're going to do is give 100% of themselves to it because it's a waste of their time to give 100% because they're not going to get return on that 100% as much as they were hoping in the situation. And so if he goes to another team, it feels better. It's not a shock when these people who supposedly underperform on other teams go to other teams and all of a sudden they're fantastic. They didn't drink from the fountain of youth. What happened was they got into a better situation, better system, and they felt more confident because they felt more supported by the coaching staff or the other players on the team, and that matters.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with me, when people talk about busts and like, oh, this player stinks and stuff, you gotta take it's a full equation you have to take into account. It's place, players with him, coaches, organization. So like that's why the draft is so baffling to me. Like the teams that pick so high in the draft are they're the worst run organizations in any sporting team. And then when you see those players, like some of them like straight up just falter and like just stink, you're like, see, I know he was never good. They shouldn't have never picked him at 3. I'm like, the reason they pick at 3 is that they waste these players' talents. That's what, it's symbiotic. They stink, then that makes you stink. And then when they leave, you're like, hey man, I never knew he was that good. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because we played for the Browns. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember Paul Kruger. He played. He was amazing in Baltimore. People were like, yo, Paul Kruger, he's amazing. Browns give him so much money. We're like, who? Man, they cut him after 2 years. People were like, yeah, Paul Kruger wasn't that good. I'm like,
look at that guy for the Jets. That's a guy in the secondary they signed. I can't remember his name offhand.
Tremaine Johnson.
Yeah, Tremaine Johnson. $72 million. They already got rid of him, right? Because they'd seen he'd been so well in another system. You go to the crappy Jets that aren't that well coached. Of course, he's not going to show out. There's nothing there. So it's just those things you have to factor those things, in my opinion, when it comes to sports. All right, Ferris, I got to wrap this thing up, man. Good talking to you,
John.
Man.
Thank you, man.
You stopping in.
You have a nice night, John. Thank you very much.
Respect, brother. Respect.
You too, man.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone joining me here on this live episode of Sports Times. Kind of impromptu episode. Felt like having one. I love the fact that we're back into talking sports and into that situation. So I want to thank Taylor Bisciotti for stopping by. You can follow her at Taylor Bisciotti. That's Bisciotti. She does not have a Patreon. She's just Taylor Bisciotti, and she works at the NFL Network. She'll be back at the job tomorrow, so that's interesting. Maybe they're gonna, keep a social distancing, trying to work the job tomorrow. She'll be back at the NFL studios tomorrow. So look for stuff on Instagram and on Twitter. She's great on Instagram, posts a lot of great stories. She certainly gives a lot of information in her quick excerpts there. She's a lot of fun to follow, so definitely do that. I want to thank all y'all for joining me here. Thanks so much for the Streamlabs and the Super Chats, the ones that you sent it in. Thank you so much for your questions in here. I appreciate it madly, and we'll talk to you on Monday with a brand new episode of of the Outlaw Nation's Game Time. Got into my head kind of repeating things. Outlaw Nation's Game Time, and I'm really enjoying the show, doing the show again. I'm happy to talk sports again. I'm just like, I knew I'd waited. I kind of needed to heal from what happened in January. I needed to heal. And I lost maybe some time, like not doing a show during the playoffs and the Super Bowl and all that kind of jazz. But I needed some time to know how to take care of me. And now I'm ready to come back and host the show like I should be, in the right frame of mind to talk about sports and enjoy them again. Please follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. You see my Patreon there, or the other side, www.patreon.com/John Rocha. Please see the multiple tiers there. Going to be doing a lot with the Patreon now over the next few weeks, next few months, over the rest of the year, to be honest with you. A lot of stuff going on there. So please get involved there. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well if you haven't. Trying to get to that 20,000 subscribers position. I know I'm behind Roxy and I'm behind Riley a little bit, but also started late. So please come and help me catch up and get into that 20,000 subscriber situation overall. All right, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy yourself. I've got Geek Buddies coming out. Geek Buddies is out now on the channel this morning. Later on tonight, dropping into the tomorrow morning, dropping the next episode of Strong Style. Me and Aaron Turner were revisiting the WrestleMania 10 ladder match between the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. We're going to do that. We recorded that episode. That's going to drop tonight. Tomorrow, of course, the Cinephiles as well, the podcast. That drops tomorrow, part 1 of Spartacus. So look for that. And the Top 10 show dropped their show this week already. Go see all that in the descriptions. Should be down there. If not, go and find the Top 10 on your podcast there and enjoy us counting down the top 10 TV actors turned movie stars for this week. All right, that's it. That's it for me. Love you all. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time on the Outlaw Nation.